Now, album number one with our streamlined bio. I guess I'm the first one who gets to do it. We're going to be covering the Sundays, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Our first time covering the Sundays. The reason is because this is the debut album from the Sundays from 1990. It is the first of three total albums for the Sundays as well.
John, before you get too into your bio, don't forget to tell the songs and Matt run the stats.
All right, well, let's have Matt run the stats first. We'll go with that, and then I'll tell the songs.
Well, Sunday's Reading, Writing, and Arithmetic comes in at number 195 in the 1990s on Best Ever Albums, number 13 in 1990, number 999 of all time, just cracking the top 1,000. It is the Sunday's highest-rated album on Best Ever Albums, and it did not make Rolling Stone's list.
Okay, and in the montage, you would have heard Here's Where the Story Ends, which was the biggest charting song on this, and before this segment, you heard You're Not the Only One I Know, which was the track before that. A little bit, the Sundays were formed in 1988 in Bristol, England. The group was Harriet Wheeler, who is the vocalist, David Gavurin, who is the... and I listened, by the way, for pronunciations of the name, and it was like the robot voice in many of the cases, so like it kind of was said different ways. I'm going to go with Gavurin, but... feel free to correct me if you think there is a more correct pronunciation for it. And the rhythm section is Paul Brindley and Patrick Hannon. And that gives us a little bit of an overview of who the band is and where they came from. This act was well regarded. This was a very well-selling album, a good-selling album, top-selling album in England. It also charted pretty well in the United States. As well, genre specific right here. I think the overall genre would be kind of considered to be rock music with a little bit of dream pop in there, a little bit of alt rock and college rock in there. Those seem to be the themes, I'd say. But I would probably go with rock with dream pop leanings. I think little bit of indie. Would kind of go what I'd go for. Influences on this band. I don't think it's going to be hard to figure out two of their big influences, guys. If you said the Cocteau Twins and the Smiths, you would be there. And this band also was influential to other bands who I'm sure will be name dropped in this performance as well. And what else do we want to cover in the bio, Josh? What am I missing? Some facts. Well, I should mention that the lead singer, Harriet Wheeler, and David Gavurin got married. They started the band and they got married and had multiple kids. So that probably is
just like
the
the
first
Cocteau
one.
Twins, right? Weren't they in a relationship?
Yes, they were in a relationship, although that did not end well.
Yes.
But yes, you're correct. That was there. Also Harriet Wheeler and David Gavurin were in a band before this. That was called Jim Jiminy, was the band that came up before that.
Good name.
You like that one? Yep. Jim, do you know where that comes from, Josh?
Is it from Mary Poppins?
Correct.
That's
Jim Jiminy. Yeah. So, and what ended up happening was when they played their first concert in August of 1988, it sort of generated a word of mouth bidding war for them, and pretty much everybody started to look for it. They were signed by Rough Trade, and Rough Trade ends up releasing their first album, and then kind of incredibly, Rough Trade falls apart in 1991, and then the album is no longer available for basically the rest of the 90s, which is crazy when you think about it, because it was a top 10 album in the UK, and then a year later you could not pick it up, which is wild when you think about it. So those are three facts right there for the band. So I think probably I'll pepper in some facts along the way. That gives you a little bit of an idea of the Sundays, British band, kind of in the kind of continual lineage of what we've seen with dream pop. Josh has famously not loved dream pop, so I'm curious to see if the Sundays are able to move you in a different direction than some of the other dream pop bands that we've talked about. Did they win you over, Josh?
Not exactly. I'm kind of
Okay.
split down the middle on this one. It's like I like the Smiths aspects, but don't like the Cocteau Twins aspects. I'm really pulled in two directions here. Not knowing anything about this band, I wasn't expecting a female lead singer. That was surprising at first, but then it sets the tone. She's pixie-ish in a way, but not like a Bjork Icelandic pixie. Just a straight-ahead English pixie, and the she, like you said, it's a dreamy kind of album. It's got the jangly guitar, which I responded to. It's got this peaceful, calm vibe. I just wish it had more variety in kind of the delivery and in her lyrics. It's not fair of me to say it was I wish there was more than just her singing at times, maybe some harmonies or somebody else backing vocals to her, but that's not really fair because the Smiths just have Morrissey singing, and I don't complain about him just singing. I think she's kind of too ethereal for me in her delivery, and that's what I don't respond to. There's not enough range there. The songs kind of sound the same to me. When they do deviate, which with a song like A Certain Someone, it really stood out, and that is my favorite song on the album. It's just kind of more poppy, less dreamy. It's more Smiths-like. I wish there had been more of those types of songs on there, and I think that this album would have risen in my estimation. But the structure of the songs are kind of always the same. It's always her delivering, and it's got this kind of dreamy guitar part and some variation in the drums throughout. So it's not I do like the single Here's Where the Story Ends, but still not as much as A Certain Someone, which wasn't a single. That song kind of won me over on multiple listens, but this wasn't something that I clung to right away or felt like was a pleasant surprise. It was more of a I don't know, a duty to the podcast to listen to it as opposed to something that I ended up enjoying a lot. So a real thumbs in the middle for me. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
Well, I couldn't disagree with you more, Josh.
I knew it. I knew it was going to be the minority.
Yeah, so I knew Here's Where the Story Ends. I thought this, and I've always liked that song. Did you not know Here's Where the Story Ends before, Josh? Did
I
you
don't
never
think
heard
so.
that? Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I was kind of fearing that, like, okay, that would be the standout song, and then the rest of the album would be very kind of like either generic or just like not really all that great. And I was totally wrong. I love this. This is this hit this checked off so many boxes for me. And I think, yes, all those things that you kind of said already about their influence. Certainly the Smiths. Certainly the like REM, like the jangle pop, from the Byrds, kind of thing. I liked some of the drumming. There were some of these offbeat drumming things that were happening. Like Hideous Towns had a really cool drumming part that's like offbeat, off kilter, kind of surprising. And it's one of those things that I think when you first hear it, you're like, this doesn't sound right. It sounds like he's offbeat, he's screwing up. And then the more you listen to the song, the more it kind of fits, right? And so I really liked the drumming on that. I really liked her voice. I like the dream pop aspect of this. And I like how some of the songs build. I think Hideous Towns was one of my favorite songs. I like the kind of way that built up. And then at the end, it was kind of like a guitar part that was reminiscent of The Wedding Present. That was just kind of like this really kind of urgent guitar playing. And the tone of this record is the other thing that really stands out to me. It's like the dream pop kind of thing, and the way that the electric guitar is played, it's very crisp, very clean, and just, man, one solid song after another, just really, really in line with kind of the pop elements that I like in a lot of music. So I can kind of see what you're saying about it seeming a little samey for you, Josh. It didn't strike me as being like that, although, I mean, the overall tone is similar. I'm certainly able to pick out differentiated, aspects of many of these songs and not get bored at all. This is easily my album of the week. I could see this being high. I mean, like David Bowie's Scary Monsters and Super Creeps. I could see this being very high towards my list at the end of the year. This was a really nice. I knew the band. I didn't know their beyond their single, and so this is a big thumbs up for me. I was really pleasantly not surprised necessarily, but it was better than I thought it was going to be for sure.
I fall almost exactly in the middle of both of you guys. I would say that I enjoyed this album. I don't know if I as effusively enjoyed it as you did, Matt, and the reason is because one of the criticisms Josh had on it would stick to me, that there is a sameness to this, that there wasn't enough differentiation at times between the songs. I really started to notice it by the time I got to song number 7 or 8. I was like, I could really enjoy a little bit of a variation on the theme. And I think because they're constructing traditional songs, it stood out to me more than some of the other groups like Cocteau Twins or My Bloody Valentine, or even some of the Jesus and Mary Chain stuff, right? Where because it went into the noise rock era and stuff, it's much easier for me to just sort of let it wash over me and embrace the sameness at times. But when I'm hearing a series of traditional songs, I'm like, okay, I've heard this song, and because I thought the better songs were at the front of the album, it's like I've heard this song and I've heard a better version of this song earlier in the album. So that was my one criticism on it. With that, I love all of the pieces of the band, so that even though it was samey, it was a good version of a song. Lyrically, I think you guys did a really good job of describing it. It's a very feminine voice. For those that know the group Churches, it's a very similar voice to what inspired the lead singer of Churches. It shares some commonalities with sometimes what Sinead O'Connor sounds like. It shares some similarities with at times what Dolores O'Riordan sounds like in the Cranberries as well. Not exactly, because she has her own voice in there, but I'd say the closest is probably the singer from the Churches group that's around now. They
I hear that.
Same thing.
The music is different, though.
The music is very different because the Churches sound is more new wavy and influenced by that, whereas this music is not that. But sonically, I heard the voice. I said, "Ooh, that's definitely an inspiration." And they're from roughly the same neck of the world. Not exactly, but same.
I think Churches is Scottish. I think they're Scottish.
Scottish, correct? And the Cocteau Twins are Welsh, Scottish. I'm trying to remember.
I think they're Scottish. But I
think they're Scottish as well, yeah. So we'll look in that. So kind of all in the same neck of the woods.
Scottish, yes.
This band is from Bristol, though, British, so a little bit different. I, like you, Matt, immediately noticed the drum parts. I thought they were interesting. The guitar tone shared some similarities with The Edge in U2, shared a little bit of jangle tone and indie rock guitar. I liked the production, as you mentioned, Matt, and I hate to keep echoing it, but you guys kind of stole my notes, and I'm there. The production I thought was really good. It didn't sound dated. It sounded pretty modern in the modern sense. I liked how things were cleaned up. It was a crisp sound. It sounded good on headphones, but it also sounded good in a large space, which is the second way that I heard it, letting it play and go into a space. So those were pluses. And I thought the lyrical content was pretty solid too. I just don't think it had anything that took it from good album to great album for me. And that kind of, I think, is where it's going to lie this week. Very pleasant listen. Glad I listened to it. It's one of those albums where the single is the best song, which sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. I won't say I'm disappointed when that's the case, but I kept waiting to see if there was going to be another song at that level on the album. And I think the single was track 2, if I remember correctly, right?
Yep.
And and I don't know if anything quite rose to that level, which is always a little bit of a disappointment because you're like, man, I was hoping that there'd be a gem at that level in here.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my take. I wouldn't put it in that top tier of dream pop of like the second Cocteau Twins album, or certainly like My Bloody Valentine or Psycho Candy from Jesus and Mary Chain. Those I think are all more effective versions of this genre. If we call albums like Galaxy 500 and stuff dream pop as well, which I probably would, that version of it too spoke to me a little bit more. But I think this one is still a thumbs up for me. I'd recommend, even though I probably sound more negative on it than I am as a piece of art. I think because I like this genre, I was hoping for a little bit more, and for me it was simply good but didn't move to great.
Well, there's no edge, right? It's not groundbreaking. It's kind of just taking an amalgam of like several different pieces of other bands before them. So in that sense, it's probably not it's not in the pantheon of great albums of all time. But I don't know. This was a really enjoyable listening experience, and I would go back to this album multiple times, and I feel that it would not really get old for me.
I'll echo John's sentiment that I thought the lyrics were kind of complex and interesting in a way I didn't expect. Kind of the title of the song doesn't necessarily tell you what the lyrics are going to entail. It kind of goes in directions I didn't expect, so I did pick up on that, so I will want to add that. But yeah, again, like the dream pop just kind of dissipates for me. I can't get a hold of it when there's not, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm finding that of all of us, and it surprises me, Josh, when there is a genre that you don't connect with, it's hard for you to find outliers in it. I think I'm noticing that Matt and I are finding outliers in our non-preferred genres a little easier than it is for you.
Yep.
Do you think that's a fair comment or no?
I think so. Yeah. So far, at least. It's still early in the season. We'll see.
Do you think it would be better if it, like, is the dream, like, the echoey nature? I mean, that's kind of what makes it dream poppy, right? There's like a echoey kind of, aura to it. Is that the off-putting part? Do you think if the production maybe was a little bit different, or the guitar tone, do you think that you might like the songs better then?
Yeah, maybe. I feel like, I don't know. I have to listen to more dream pop, I guess. Maybe it's the fact of, like, the echoiness with the female singer. We haven't heard dream pop does dream pop exist with male singers? I don't know.
Well, like, you like the Julie Cruz album, right? And to me, that's dream pop with a female singer.
But there's so much, like, kind of, I don't know, felt so different to me, and every song is kind of different in a way, and I don't know, it just felt more grounded in some sort of, that album had more of a retro feel to it too. Maybe that was why it was easier. But yeah, I guess I did like that album. I like that album more than this one, so I don't know. Yep. So Matt's was really positive. John was somewhat positive.
Mine's a thumbs up.
Yeah.
It's a thumbs up, just not as effusively as Matt's, I don't think.
Yeah, I really liked it.
I'm a real thumbs in the middle, so.
Okay, so you would say middle, not down.
Yeah, middle.
Okay. Gotcha. For those, I'm going to start putting this in so that people have it that might be interested. This one clocked it at a 41 on my scale, 41 to 60. So that's where it comes in.